I'm Robin HC and welcome to Making It Big. What we're going to do today is I'm going to be going into my local hardware store, Pollux, and I'm going to interview Vince and Hans on the tools for success, things about their job, and the scoop. But before we do that, what I want to do is I want to tell you a little bit about me and how I arrived at what I do today. So we're going to go along my career path journey right now. My very first, well, first of all, you should know is I'm a life coach and a personal effectiveness trainer. And what I do is I work with individuals to achieve their dreams and overcome mental barriers to get what they want out of life. Often that is their dream job, opening a business, sometimes weight loss, and lifestyle change. So that's what I do currently, and I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I'm considered an expert in my field. How it started, my very first job, I was about 8 years old and I delivered papers for a man named Jack. I would make about $7 a day and spend it on gum and pop-by cigarettes. That's what I did. I moved to Europe and was sort of off the hook for a while. Came back when I got kicked out of school, which was quite the accomplishment in itself because my parents were paying about $20,000 a year for me to go there. So I'm kind of proud of that in an abstract sort of way. Actually, in fact, it was the Canadian government that was paying for me to go. So there you go, tax dollars well spent on my education. And in case you're wondering, my stepfather was a diplomat. That's how I ended up there. And when I got back, I worked at a bakery. I worked at New York French Fries. Mom said, get a job, so I did. I had such a bad attitude. I didn't expect them to hire me, and I didn't want a job, really. And so I worked with New York French Fries, and they would say, go make French fries, and I'm like, oh, it's so greasy over there. Come on, like, can I do something else? He's like, that's all we do here. So I ended up getting fired from that one. I was a construction worker, if you can believe it. I had a very important sign to hold, and it would stop traffic so that the trucks could go back and forth and take stuff out of the landfill. I don't even want to know what that was, and move it to another landfill just down the street. I was quite popular with the truckers, but that lasted about a week and a half, even though the pay was quite good. I did some landscaping. My girlfriend Nancy and I figured that we could tan and actually, you know, get nice and bronzed part-time while we were making money. However, what happened was a guy lost his toe, and when the second guy lost his toe, we were like, okay, that's it. It's too scary to think that our pedicures could possibly be off balance from this job. So we both quit. I did some modeling. I was a bud girl. That was kind of interesting. I don't drink beer, but I would go in and hook up with the bartenders and say, you know, hey, dump out the beer, drink it, do whatever you want, we'll pay for it, but just put a little bit of rye in there, and then when I order a drink, make sure that that you put ginger ale. So I was able to sort of fulfill the appearance of my my bud girl etiquette there. I was an agent on Boogie's Diner, and how that happened is a friend of mine said, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you know any agents? And I said, well, you know, tell me more about it. Someone was looking for special skilled extras to be in the background of Boogie's Diner. And I said, well, I'm not an agent, but you know what, if you give me the number, like, I'm gonna talk to this woman, I can do this, I know lots of models. So I went home and I took all my pictures out of my portfolio, I called all the girls that I knew, got 8x10s, put them into my portfolio, went to see this woman. First thing out of her mouth is, you're not an agent, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm not, but if you give me a chance, I can really do this. And that was great. I got fired when I ended up getting a speaking part accidentally for someone on set. And it was just a fluke that I had called her in last minute after somebody canceled, and I was 23. It was a great experience, but I was learning the importance of failure in success. After that, I became an event manager. That was actually an exciting job. I did that for several years. And I was manager of a corporate entertainment company, and one of the things that took me was to like golf courses. So I would get to golf courses, get the golfers off on their way, the executives, and then I would go in and grab a set of clubs, and they were usually TaylorMades or Pings, which was very nice. And I'd head over the driving range, grab a cute pro, and just hit balls. And that is how I learned to golf and why I have such a strong driving and putting, and my short game kind of stinks, but I'm working on it. Let's see, from there I worked at the Air Canada Centre, and this was a few years back when they opened up. So I was responsible for their manuals, writing the manuals for I was HR manager for executive suites. So I had a staff of 178, 2 token boys, and I really loved that job. I started to realize how much I adore people and connecting with people and finding ways to communicate with diverse personalities. And I was very successful at that. And an example of that was on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we had Tragically Hip playing. So months in advance, I was talking to the girls. I'm like, guys, I need you there. I know you don't want to be there. I don't want to be there, but I really need you to be there. And I think it was 140 girls that I had to have, and every single one of them showed up both days. Not one person called in sick. So I consider that to be a reflection of my management style. In 2004, I traveled across Canada delivering programs for SETI and its youth initiative programs, e-thinker programs. I got to train the trainers, and I also got the opportunity to go into schools and work with youth and really make a difference with some of the high-risk youth and the kids that a lot of society, we've sort of lost hope on. And we delivered e-thinking programs, which is thinking outside of the box. And those are just, several of the jobs that I've had. And that led me up to life coaching, and I also do seminars and training and that type of thing. I love what I do. I'm really passionate about people, and I'm your girl. I don't know what else to say. So thanks. This is Making It Big, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.